Welcome back to the Space Gulag, everybody. Today we're back and we're doing a new theory. Today we're looking at what would have happened if Padmé had done literally what she should have done, and that's literally fall in love with someone her own age, Obi Wan Kenobi. Now, obviously he's a couple years older, and the reason I say should have done is because it just makes more sense than a kid that's 7 years younger than her. Obi-Wan was a couple years older than Padmé, as I said, but he was also a noble young man. He differed from his master Qui-Gon, as we saw throughout Phantom Menace, that she didn't get along with him. And much like Obi-Wan and Satine's love story, we would discover in this scenario what would have happened in the scenario of which Padmé fell in love with Obi-Wan. So let's get straight into it. I'm excited. This turned out a lot differently than I thought it would, but I think it would be really interesting if this were a different what if in the Star Wars universe. The story starts in the middle of Phantom Menace, and instead of Obi-Wan being separated from Padmé during their duration on the planet Tatooine, they are together this time. Whether they're on the ship or in Mos Eisley with Qui-Gon Jinn doesn't really matter, but for this scenario specifically, we're going to say they're with Qui-Gon Jinn and Mos Eisley. Throughout their time on Mos Eisley, Obi-Wan is specifically tasked with keeping Padmé safe. Padmé, though, starts to become infatuated with the young Jedi, though her worries for her planet cloud her thoughts for Kenobi. All along, Anakin, a young slave boy that they met, is harboring feelings for the young queen, which creates an emotional attachment. As the invasion of Naboo comes to an end, and a treaty is brought together by the Gungans and the Naboo, as Obi-Wan's at the funeral for his master, he's comforted by Padmé. This would immediately create jealousy for Obi-Wan from Anakin. Anakin would already be upset that his original mentor had died, but he would be even more enraged at the fact that his master, his new master at least, had the attention of the girl he was infatuated with. As Anakin went through his training, he would build resentment for Obi-Wan. Dreams of Padmé would always be overshadowed by the fact that Obi-Wan was stealing her heart away. Anakin didn't sleep well because of this, and the neglect that he faced at the temple alongside of it would further him away from his soon-to-be mentor. When Anakin was no longer youngling and was allowed to be training with Kenobi, he would disobey anything Kenobi said. In canon, the two would bond over moments and grow together. In this scenario, though, they would not bond. Obi-Wan would try his best. He would consult the High Council members about what he should do, and they would tell him that Anakin would come around eventually. Anakin would never do that, though. The Jedi would consider removing Anakin from Obi-Wan's training, which could eventually work, but their arrogance would leave him under Obi-Wan's care. And that's because the Jedi are just plain out arrogant at this time in the Republic. Obi-Wan tried his best to train Anakin, but Anakin wouldn't give in. The dreams would get darker and more painful for Anakin. In sparring matches with Anakin, he would try to hurt his master, but Obi-Wan would always best the ever so eager and impatient Anakin. Anakin was down a path much darker than Palpatine at this time would have ever foreseen for the young Jedi. By the time of Attack of the Clones, Anakin had grown into a powerful young Jedi, but off balance, without patience, without peace of mind and heart. He was built into a killing machine, and this is not by Obi-Wan's fault at all, but it's Anakin's inability to let go of his feelings for Padmé, and this was amplified by the reunification of the trio on Coruscant. The immediate interaction had Padmé kiss Obi-Wan's cheek and act surprised when she saw Anakin. "My goodness, you've grown!" Anakin could feel his blood boil. He felt more anger towards Obi-Wan than he had ever felt in his life. And Padmé would guide Obi-Wan to a seat next to her and tell him, and even Anakin, about the attempt on her life. Obi-Wan sees this no more than a friendly interaction. Padmé, though, holds Obi-Wan's hands as if in distress. Anakin can't bear it. He speaks when not spoken to, and challenges everyone in the room, including Padmé. So this situation is really awkward. You know the scene in Attack of the Clones at the beginning is kind of awkward, where Obi-Wan has to kind of be like, no, we're not doing that, we're going to obey our mandate. It's like that, but like 10 times more awkward. It's really an awkward scene. The situation gets so out of hand that Obi-Wan actually asks Anakin to leave. Anakin, in this scenario though, after so much pain from what he thought Obi-Wan and Padmé had, would boil over him. He would just take over. Anakin would rip his lightsaber out and swing at Obi-Wan, who was quick to deflect. The duel of the fates wouldn't be long. Anakin was impatient and arrogant. Not only that, but Obi-Wan had been sparring with this monster for years, and was quick to put it down. Obi-Wan, though, in this scenario, is going to swing too bluntly in his defense. He's going to swing and it's going to cross Anakin's chest. Anakin would release a tear and he would fall to the ground, lifeless. Obi-Wan would be heartbroken, literally just heartbroken. He would rush to his Padawan calling Anakin's name, pleading for him to be okay, but Anakin Skywalker was dead in an assassination attempt on his master. And since there were witnesses and a recently threatened senator, Obi-Wan was seen as a hero for protecting Padmé. Padmé is also infatuated with Kenobi for this because he saved her. And because of this, she also tries to make a move on him, but he pushes her away. Obi-Wan would confront the Jedi Council because they would also want to know what had happened in the senator's residence. Obi-Wan told him, and then he raged at them. He asked for their help and they acted like it was nothing. Obi-Wan reached out to the High Council and they told him that it would eventually pass over, and it didn't, and Obi-Wan had to kill his apprentice because of it. And he would therefore renounce his position as a Jedi Knight in the Jedi Order and leave the Jedi Temple for the last time, much like his master's master, Dooku. Obi-Wan could find himself on various journeys. He could end up on Tatooine, but I think Obi-Wan being so young, he would be out trying, not for adventure, but to bring peace to people that needed it. He would act as a Jedi still. He was still a Jedi at heart, but the heartbreak of what he had to go through as a Jedi was too much for him to bear. In this scenario, he's not in love with Padmé because Padmé has hurt him more than Anakin could have ever done so, because she fell in love with him, creating a distance between Anakin and himself. Obi-Wan would eventually find himself on Mandalore, where he would serve the Duchess of Mandalore, and eventually wed her. He would fend off the Death Watch, and so on and so forth. This is really, honestly, a really happy ending for Obi-Wan, I think. I think Obi-Wan, after having so much pain in the Jedi, he would find peace with Duchess Satine. Palpatine, though, is the one we all want to know about. His plans would be ruined, literally ruined, a decade wasted trying to prime Anakin for his moment to take over the galaxy, and it was wasted over the senator for Naboo. He would find a new apprentice in Pong Krell or even Barriss Offee, and he would attempt to bring down the Jedi. Now, if he brought down the Jedi, Mandalore probably would survive. In all seriousness, Mandalore wasn't really all that well governed by the time the Empire came around. So if Satine was still in power, which I believe she would still be in power, because if Obi-Wan was there wouldn't be really anyone to threaten her power unless Maul or Savage or so on and so forth took over. But I think Duchess Satine lives in this scenario, and in a time of the Empire, Mandalore wouldn't be classed, essentially. If the Jedi were to succeed, then the Chosen One would just be a myth, long forgotten, and with no context towards the future. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this is a rather short theory for what we've been doing on the channel. I usually kind of do 10 to 20 minutes long theories, but this one was really interesting, really short, really concise. I wanted to keep it that way. But I thought the Duel of the Fates, the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, was really quite interesting because it would take place several years before Revenge of the Sith, and that's probably 3 or 4 years before Revenge of the Sith, and it would be a much different battle. I think Obi-Wan would be easily able to best Anakin, because even though Anakin was rageful, Obi-Wan had been sparring with Anakin for so long that he was just used to it. He was used to fending off Anakin's attacks, and it made Obi-Wan a better duelist because of it. And Anakin wouldn't be a better duelist because he was losing every single sparring session. He wasn't getting better. He was just losing and losing and losing. So I thought this was rather interesting. Tell me what you guys think down below. What would have happened in this theory in your minds? Do you agree with what I said about Padmé falling in love, but Obi-Wan not really feeling it for her? Originally, I thought, well, maybe Obi-Wan would fall in love for Padmé, and then I was like, no, he loves Satine. How could he not? That's them. That's all them. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. I love you all. Spread the love, and always remember, may the Force be with you.